Good morning, everyone. Gypsy Rose Blanchard here. So my book, My Time to Stand, is officially available wherever books are sold. I'm super excited about this, and you can find links in my bio.
I will tell you what I can't wait for, Gypsy's book, okay? Because I want to read it. I want to read all the motherfucking lies. I want to see what she said in her interviews. She was like, I just had to differ from what's real and what I thought was real. So you wrote a fiction book. Listen, I'm gonna read that bitch. I'm just excited because it's fake. It's fine. It's literally fine. It's all fake anyway.
Gypsy Rose's memoir, My Time to Stand, a misstep in public reception. Thanks for joining me for another deep dive. Today we're talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her new memoir, My Time to Stand. It's finally hit the shelves, but judging by the way things are going, it might just be gathering dust. Why? Well, the lead up to its release has been nothing short of disastrous, and it's not hard to see why. Between the inconsistent narratives and the overbearing victimhood claims and the glaring omissions of accountability, this memoir may be one of the most ill-fated book launches we've seen in a while. Let's break it down. Gypsy's promotional efforts for My Time to Stand has been marred by inconsistencies and contradictions. In multiple interviews, she's reiterated that the book would be the definitive version of her story, the one the media never let her tell. She's claimed that everything we've heard before was curated by the platforms hosting her, leaving out the truths she was desperate to share. However, the public isn't buying it. See, Gypsy has always been the sole narrator of her story, from documentaries to TV interviews to even the Hulu series, The Act. Over the years, her story has been told through various high-profile mediums, and each retelling has come with slight alterations or additions that often raise more questions than answers. If her story has shifted, it's not because of the media manipulation, it's because her version of events evolve depending on the narrative she wants to sell at the time. For instance, she has claimed at times that she'd been forced to stick to scripts dictated by her interviewers or producers, yet no concrete evidence has emerged to support this assertion.
Gypsy Rose's book signing is coming up, and I do not suggest or condone this, but imagine if everyone arrived dressed as Ruby, because that's what she wants to brush under the carpet, or David Blanchard, or Barney. I think the obvious ones are Dee Dee or herself in a wheelchair. Oh, everyone go in a wheelchair. But don't forget to bring your cakes with number candles on, because she lied about that.
What stands out is the pattern of unreliability that has understandably left many skeptical. It's not just about the discrepancies themselves, but about the apparent convenience of those changes. Whether public interest wins, Gypsy appears with a new twist of or memory, seemingly designed to reignite curiosity. The tactic might work temporarily, but has long-term consequences as it chips away at her credibility and makes each subsequent revelation feel less authentic. Moreover, Gypsy's instance that this book is her one true story comes across as yet another attempt to monetize her infamy rather than a genuine effort to provide clarity. Critics and observers are left wondering, what exactly is new here? Or is this just another way to retell the same tale, this time behind a paywall? These doubts have already begun to reflect in the book's lukewarm reception and growing backlash from those who expected more substance and accountability.
I'm gonna read that bitch. I'm just excited because it's fake. It's fine. It's literally fine. It's all fake anyway. Gypsy, you're starting an uproar with families. I am so curious what all that you put in this book. That's why I want to read it. That's why I want to read it. I'm gonna tell Dee Dee all the little lies that you're telling in there. I'm gonna read them straight to her damn face. She's fine with it. She wants to know. She wants to know what you're lying about. I mean, we know everything, but we want to know details. I swear to God, Gypsy, for 30 damn bucks, this book better be fucking well written. I tell you that because I like to read. I'm on the book talks. And seriously, Gypsy, we all know you don't fucking crochet. Because I do. That's fucking weird. How are you gonna like pink? How are you gonna fucking crochet? I crochet. I make fucking blankets. I'm sending brands of blankets tomorrow.
Gypsy's promotional efforts to My Time to Stand have been marred by inconsistencies and Contradictions. One of the most notable stops on Gypsy's promotion tour was her live signing interview with Jess Blinn on Instagram. From the outset, Gypsy's demeanor set off alarm bells. She appeared emotionally fragile, her smile strained, and her voice quivering. It was almost as though she was putting on a brave face for an event she did not want to attend. Her body language seemed to scream discomfort. Her micro-expression suggested vulnerability rather than confidence. Many viewers speculated whether she was forced into this appearance, especially given past allegations of her family's overbearing influence. Gypsy's ex-fiancé, Ryan, had previously shared that her family controlled many aspects of her life, recounting how she was suddenly taken away from him under the pretext of her family's decisions. When Jess asked Gypsy to summarize her memoir, she described it as a detailed account of her life from childhood to the present day. According to Gypsy, this book was her opportunity to unveil parts of her story she'd never been allowed to share before. She emphasized that previous interviews and documentaries only scratched the surface, framing this memoir as her unfiltered truth. Yet, it is hard to ignore the glaring contradiction in her statement.
Finding myself has been a journey. I felt like while I was in prison, I was trying on different identities, trying to find myself, but it wasn't until I actually got released and able to learn by experience, because that's how people learn, and that's how they learn about themselves. So by doing that and having those freedoms to go out and experience these things, I'm able to see how I react and discover more things about myself. So I'm not going to say that it's a I found myself. It's a journey.
Absolutely. I love it.
Gypsy has been the sole narrator of her story across countless platforms. She's been featured in high-profile documentaries, dramatized in TV shows, and granted lengthy interviews. If these opportunities weren't enough to tell her story, what's so different about this book? To some, it feels like another attempt to monetize her notoriety, using the guise of setting the record straight as a marketing tactic. Jess's questioning, while intended to spotlight the book, leaned heavily into themes of victimhood. For example, when Gypsy discussed the challenges of writing about her life, she portrayed the process as an intense emotional excavation, likening it to involuntary therapy. She claimed the act of writing brought back memories she'd repressed, helping her piece together the fragmented parts of her life. However, this explanation also raises doubts. If Gypsy has only now recovered these memories, it adds another layer of unreliability to the timeline and details she shared over the years. Her narrative seems to shift with her motives, further eroding public trust. Gypsy's attempts to frame her book as part of a healing journey also came across as performative. She recounted how writing the memoir was like undergoing therapy, forcing her to confront suppressed memories and emotions. Gypsy described the process as painful yet cathartic, claiming that it helped her piece together fragments of her past that had long been buried. While this narrative could be compelling, it's one that feels overused in her promotional campaign, a carefully constructed angle meant to elicit sympathy. During the live signing interview, Gypsy made it a point to highlight how the act of writing unearthed forgotten details of her childhood and her timeless relationship with her mother. She portrayed herself as someone embarking on a journey of self-discovery, using the memoir as both a therapeutic exercise and a platform to reclaim her narrative.
At first, the relationship with my mother and I was a good relationship when I was younger, and she's all I grew up knowing. And so in a sense, she was my best friend. And then in my later teen years, that's whenever I started to rebel and want more independence and freedom. And so that's whenever our relationship became like love and hate. And so it became more volatile. And after her passing and her death, it became where I missed her, but also I had a relief that I was no longer under her control. So a lot of people feel a sense of connection to their abuser because they are under the belief they have been abused to the point that their belief system is that nobody else will love them. And so if you try to escape or if you leave that abusive situation, nobody else in the world will want them or love them. And unfortunately, that's the toxic pull to an abuser and a victim.
Right.
However, this narrative quickly becomes problematic when juxtaposed with her history of shifting stories. Gypsy's claims of memory gaps conveniently explain why her version of events has evolved over the years. She suggested that her initial retellings of her life's events were incomplete due to these mental blocks. This explanation might hold water if it did not also serve to absolve her out of responsibility for the inconsistencies in her story. In practice, this framing only deepens public skepticism, as it seems tailor-made to excuse contradictions that have previously drawn criticism. Furthermore, Gypsy's heavy emphasis on the memoir as a therapeutic outlet feels less like an authentic attempt to heal and more like marketing strategy. By framing her book as a form of personal healing, she sidesteps questions about her motives for writing it. Is this a genuine effort to unpack her trauma, or is it simply another means of profiting from the notoriety surrounding her case? For many, the latter feels more plausible. The public's patience with these emotional appeals appears to be wearing thin. Gypsy's repeated reliance on framing herself as a victim has begun to feel hollow, especially when paired with her continued refusal to fully acknowledge her role in her mother's death. While healing is undoubtedly a complex and ongoing process, the way it is presented here seems more performative than profound, leaving readers questioning the sincerity behind her healing journey. Jess Blaine's handling of the live signing interview did not help matters, and in fact, amplified the skepticism surrounding Gypsy's memoir. Rather than diving into the complex and controversial aspects of her story, Jessie played it safe, lobbing soft questions that reinforced Gypsy's well-established victim narrative. For example, he referred to Dee Dee Blanchard, Gypsy's mother, as her abuser, without once addressing the darker reality that Gypsy orchestrated her mother's brutal murder. When Jess broached the topic of Dee Dee's death, Gypsy's response painted a picture of conflicted emotions. She spoke about the psychological control her mother exerted over her and the mix of sadness and relief she felt after her passing.
At first, the relationship with my mother and I was a good relationship when I was younger, and she's all I grew up knowing. And so, in a sense, she was my best friend. And then in my later teen years, that's whenever I started to rebel and want more independence and freedom. And so that's whenever our relationship became like love and hate. And so it became more volatile. And after her passing and her death, it became where I missed her, but also I had a relief that I was no longer under her control. So a lot of people feel a sense of connection to their abuser because they are under the belief they have been abused to the point that their belief system is that nobody else will love them. And so if you try to escape or if you leave that abusive situation, nobody else in the world will want them or love them. And unfortunately, that's the toxic pull to an abuser and a victim.
Right.
While this perspective is valid to some extent, it conveniently glosses over the fact that Gypsy actively facilitated the crime. Jessie's refusal to press her on this crucial point left viewers frustrated, especially those who had hoped for a candid and balanced discussion. Additionally, Jessie's questions focused heavily on themes of betrayal and trauma, portraying Gypsy as a survivor navigating the aftermath of abuse. While it is undeniable that she endured significant hardships during her life with Dee Dee, the framing of these questions ignored the moral and legal weight of her involvement in her mother's murder. It's this selective focus that alienated many viewers who felt the interview prioritized convenience over accountability. Instead of delving into Gypsy's role in the crime of exploring the ethical implications of her public persona, Jess stuck to a narrative that painted her as a victim, a move that felt calculated and ultimately backfired. Viewers were left feeling that the interview was more of a promotional piece than an honest exploration of Gypsy's controversial life story. Jess Blaine's handling of the live signing interview did not help matters. Instead of asking tough questions, he lobbied softballs designed to perpetuate Gypsy's victim narrative. He referred to Dee Dee's Gypsy's mother as the abuser. Both interviews, the live signing and Rolling Stone, have fueled public discontent. Many feel these platforms are complicit in Gypsy's attempts to rewrite history and profit off her notoriety. This discontent is evident in the one-star reviews flooding her memoir on Good Dreads. Critics have lambasted the book, rehashing old stories, offering little new insight, and continuing to evade accountability. Gypsy Rose's attempts to market My Time to Stand as a redemptive tale have backfired spectacularly. Instead of rebuilding her reputation, these promotional efforts have reinforced the perception that she's manipulating her story for profit. The public isn't buying what she's selling, and her memoir's dismissal reception reflects that. Let me know what you think about these interviews and the memoir itself. Do you think the Gypsy's attempts at redemption are genuine, or is this just another cash grab? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace, I'm out.